Today, we are joined by an author and an illustrator for our first Reading into the New Year webinar series. This extended series occurs at the start of every year, and we partner with Pilgrim Press and others to invite you to pick up these books and to lead a discussion in your own congregational or community setting this year. These books were curated this year for a very specific purpose, and I hope you catch that theme this year. So today I'd like to welcome Becky and Meredith to our screen. And just as always, I want to ask us the question of how it is with your soul today, but I also am very curious, how is it with your body today? For instance, my soul is super elated because I get to be here with you all virtually, that I'm back. We're back. We're going to be doing this together. So I'm elated. And when I'm elated, where I feel it in my body is between my neck and my shoulder blades. And I get some butterflies, through the heart and the stomach. And I get all like, oh. That's to me what my body feels like when I'm elated. So Becky and Meredith, how is it with your soul and your body today? And you're on mute, Meredith.
And Mary, you're still on mute, so I'm going to start. My soul feels hopeful and optimistic. And I think I felt that way when Mary and I first were introduced when we were 5 years old. So I still am that way now. And in terms of my soul also, I think if you can still do it at my age, I think I'm still learning and growing. And it feels good, actually. Yeah. In terms of my body, I've been a little nervous, but I'm going to reframe that. And I'm going to say, I'm really excited to be with you all today.
Oh, I love to hear that. Thank you, Becky, for sharing. Yeah. Where do you feel nervousness in your body, if I may ask?
My heart is a pitter-pattering. Yes.
Ooh,
a big pitter-patter. Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Meredith.
Hi. Well, excitement and anxiety feel the same in the body.
Amen.
I have a training in therapeutic body work, and that's one of the things, we were saying, people think, oh, I'm so anxious. You might just be really excited about something.
That's true.
On the other hand, you might be scared to death, so it could go either way.
That's the thing. We can cheer you up back.
Yeah. This is true.
Yeah. We can be a multitude of things.
My body, kind of a mess. I'm actually, but not as a mess as it was. I'm coming up on celebrating 2 years after surviving a hemorrhagic stroke that completely paralyzed my left side, and I'm left-handed, so that was kind of a bummer. So, and I sent a text to Becky this morning saying, I got 11 hours of sleep, but for some reason I'm dropping everything I touch today. That seems to have worked its way through. So the body keeps trudging on. The soul feels a little battered. Tough times being a Jew right now in the United States. But my spirit is pretty lively, pretty bright, and it pretty much remains that way because I am an artist and I'm also a writer, and I spend a lot of time on social media, and I see a lot of artists like, and I go, oh my God, you're an artist. You have this gift. You're a writer, you're a poet, you're a dancer. You have these gifts, and the arts will always save us, always. And we always have it as a refuge when we are in the arts. So that's what keeps my spirit perky. Otherwise, I'm really cranky most of the time.
I hear you, Meredith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can help uncrank her. She gets cranky.
She always uncranks me.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And going back to Meredith, when we talk about the importance of art and how it, like, I always use the term art is our freedom, right? I ask a lot of people, like, can art get us free? Right. And we know that, in political regimes that are filled with hate, they often go after art first, right? They either steal it or destroy it, right? And so we know the importance of art in combating hatred and violence and grossness.
Guernica, certainly, and the Nazis put on the degenerate art. They had a degenerate art thing. And with those artists, one of the things they did at that exhibit is they took all that artwork out of the frames and just stuck it on the walls to further degrade and devalue it.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing history, really, to read up on.
Indeed, indeed.
And here
Well,
we are
I think
again.
it's obvious to all of our audience who are tuning in now and those who will be watching later that you all have some kind of, like, I don't know, friendship, camaraderie, or whatever. And
Yeah.
so
Who is
I'm
this woman?
curious. Is this the first time you're meeting? I'm curious, can you share a bit about how you all met? And then really beyond meeting at the age of 5, at some point, you decided to collaborate and to create together. Can you tell me a little bit about that? And then maybe even, I think you had said that there was a phone call that precipitated.
That's much later. That's like 60 years later.
Yeah. Don't give our age away. Don't give our age away. Well, Mary and I met when we were 5 years old. We met in kindergarten in Mrs. Morse's class in Bergenfield, New Jersey. And we're kind of like Slug and Snail, our books. Sometimes I'm a snail and I'm a really loyal, good friend while Mary's searching and maybe having a challenge. And then sometimes I'm a slug where I'm the one who's searching and she's there standing by my side. So when I look at Mary, even now that I look at her now, I see the 5-year-old. And I think our books will convey that. But throughout all the years, we may not have seen each other for years. We may not have talked for months or years. I might have a dream about her. She might have a dream about me. There's a reason why we need to connect. And we did that for decades and decades. And at the very same time, we always wanted to work together. Now, I'm a musician, a lyricist. I was a teacher. I've been in educational publishing. Mary has authored 12 or I don't know how many umpteen books for adults, and she's a gifted illustrator. I had no idea we would do a children's book together ever, but we knew that we always wanted to work together on something. And what happened was in 2020, at the beginning of the pandemic, I think it was in March, we were on a phone call catching up. So we were going to be on for an hour and a half, and I had my earbuds in and my phone in my jeans. I'm making the bed. She's doing art like she's doing now. And we're, shooting the breeze and talking. And I said, so what are you drawing lately?
Yeah,
and
that's right.
She said, I'm drawing whorls. I said, whorls, what are those? She said, pattern spirals like on a snail. I was not expecting that. I was thinking she's doing some sort of a scene, something, whatever. And I said, well, that's interesting. And we started just kind of brainstorming. A snail shell it's like it's home. And, a slug doesn't have a shell. So it kind of doesn't have a home. And then, spiders have webs, and prairie dogs, they dig underground and they have these tunnels. Beavers have dams. Tortoise has these big shells. We just started going down this lane of brainstorming. And then we talked about people's shelters and how some people are unhoused. And how do we, what is that all about for children and all of that? We just evolved like that. And when we got off the phone, I started thinking, not necessarily children's book, I wasn't thinking that at all, but I started just writing, and it came out in rhyme.
You're leaving out the most important part. Come on.
Well, what was that?
You got off the phone. We got off the phone and you took a shower. And when you got out of the shower, the whole book was written. Come on.
Well, maybe the weekend. I was so motivated by this conversation. I was so motivated. Well, you know what? Ideas happen in the shower for me, driving in the car. I mean, I think that happens. I bet participants would feel the same way. You get really good ideas from just, the shower is a good place. So anyway, I spent that weekend, I couldn't stop myself. I just started writing, and I said, this is coming out to be a book about a slug and a snail taking a journey. And so I didn't know what Mary's thoughts were or what she would think. I was a little afraid of sending it to her, but I finished the manuscript, basically the first draft in a few days. Yeah. And I said, I'm just going to send it to her. And I did, and she wept. Did you weep, Mary?
I
I
did,
think
and actually, I still cry every time I read the first book. I choke up at the end, even though I know when it's. I do. There's something. It's your right. It's actually the story. It's your writing.
yeah.
It slays me in a good way. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was the initial thing. But before coming to this webinar, I was thinking, well, what was happening in my subconscious? And basically, there were a couple of things going on. My husband and I always had a 5-year plan. Like in 5 years, we're going to move. We both worked remotely. Well, that 5-year plan turned into 15 years. So finally, during the pandemic, we started thinking seriously about moving. So I think for me, it started bringing up things about home. And then also my childhood, and Mary can attest to this, it wasn't as safe and secure as I would have liked it to have been, but I survived it. And I think what we wanted in the first book, Slug and Snail Search for Home, is to have kids feel a sense of belonging and to have kids be able to fill up inside themselves and feel good and safe and secure. So I think it was our conversation that precipitated it, then what was going on in my subconscious, and then it came out, and kind of the rest is history.
And I'm supposed to be the one who talks too much.
Well,
Unbelievable. I told you, you'd be fine.
I got on a roll.
You do, you get into a role. Look, now you're happy Becky again. This is great. Yes, we've known each other, and I'm fine with saying my age. She's much younger than I am, but I'm going to be 75 in March. Her birthday's a week after mine. Anyway, and I'm thrilled. I never in a million years thought I'd love my 70s. I love my 70s so much. I could do without some of the physical mishigas, but emotionally, psychologically, it's like freedom I never knew was possible. Um, so yeah, so we've known each other very, very long time. And what Becky says, absolutely, I want to underscore that for years. And we've known each other since we were 5. When I say for years, you got to know we're talking like decades of us, mostly from the time we were, I would say probably from when we were in our 30s through on. We would periodically say, oh, we got to do something together. We got to create something together. And it just, I think both of us knew, speaking for me and Becky, no, I think both of us knew at some level that we'd know when that thing was, when that thing would happen. So we never pushed it, said, I said, okay, you're a lyricist, let's write songs. Or I'm an artist, let's do that. We never did that. It just, it was really spirit driven, quite frankly. So that was that. And I completely forgot. I'm so glad you mentioned the dreams. I went through a period. I still dream about Becky. I haven't told you the latest, but
You will.
yeah, well, I've gone through periods, and we both have, where we're in our dreams, and one staggering thing for me is I had such a vivid dream about her once. It had to be in the 90s. And I was living in Princeton, she was living in California, and I woke up and I called her. So it had to be like 3 or 4 in the morning for her, and I woke her up. And she's like, wait. And I said, I just had this dream about you. And I told her the dream. She said, oh my God, we discussed that in therapy today. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
But and it was because I've always had prescient dreams, and I'm a lucid dreamer, and always had that kind of like prophetic Cassandra bent. And the dream was very specific, had very specific objects, and it was all about Becky. I called her and freaked her out. So that's kind of also part of it's also part of our magic together.
There is
yeah.
magic. There is
I
magic.
completely forgot
So
about it.
I think and what I gather is like there's been those magical moments like in between your life, right? That you actually paid attention to, right? So sometimes magic happens and we're too busy or we're too
Right.
concerned with other
Absolutely.
things that we don't
Absolutely.
have necessarily the awareness. But I think like building off of that magical relationship that you all had, I would like to say that the shower is the answer to this question, but I don't think it is. There must have been an event that inspired you to write and illustrate this book? I mean, when you were talking, Becky, I shared some pictures of the snail and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But what was it about the theme of home specifically that had you both go, okay, we need to write about home? Because not only does this animal move without a home, people actually move without a home too. So yeah, can you talk a little bit about an event beyond the shower and the phone conversation that inspired you to write this first book? Because this was your first book, am I correct? The
It
home.
is.
It's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
That's interesting. I never even thought that the first book about. Well, I'm happy to reveal my psychosis first, unless you would like to go
No,
first.
you go first. You go first.
I'm actually in the process of finishing a memoir about that includes, and I just sent sample chapters to Becky saying this probably is not the Bergenfield you remember, and so we'll see about that. But Becky and I both grew up in very, very different types of homes, and like 4 blocks apart, very different types of homes, and very difficult homes on many levels. And what's interesting, or ironic, if you prefer that word, is that Becky's home was a refuge for me. I mean, her home was a place to escape the thing that was going on in my home. Becky didn't really come over to my house, but then nobody did. um, and we should talk about that at some point or not. But I was very keenly aware as I was growing up that going to Becky's was a refuge and was a safe place for me. For one thing, there was no adult supervision. Her mother let us swim in their above ground pool in October when there were leaves on it. My mother would never have allowed. Her mother used to let me eat hot dogs with mayonnaise on white bread. I mean, who does that? And so for me, that was like, and her father was, you're right, her father was a jazz musician. There was music. They had Beach Boy albums. We were listening to classical music. My father was singing along to Gilbert and Sullivan. So her home was like, and we played Barbies, and stuff, because we're of that generation. And so Becky's home was freedom for me, really was ultimate freedom for me. And fast forward or trip through all the fast forwarding, many, 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 God, I wish I had the money back, years of psychotherapy, including psychoanalysis and then 12-step recovery, and then all sorts of other adventures. I had to do the work, and I chose to do the work about, well, what does it mean to have a home? What does it mean to be in a community, to have a community, to build a community? I think one of the reasons my career in church communications was about building online community was because I was so starved for community. I thought, man, if I can't find one, I'm going to make one, you know? And so it's a great question, Ellie, because I really hadn't thought, because I was still stuck on, I'm drawing snails, okay? And then we go off like, and slugs are kind of homeless snails. But there's a
Sure.
much deeper motivation that I didn't even realize. Thank you for the insight. Go
You
ahead,
know,
Beck.
all of what she says is true. It may have felt like freedom to Mary, but it was probably not a good freedom for me.
No, it was not.
No, so it was not good. And it's interesting, the book Home, and the second book that followed a year later about love, They Search for Love, and they both go hand in hand. And I'll just share a little vignette that no one in my family ever said, I love you. And I don't remember it and ever. And then I think I was in my early 20s when finally I was the one who told my mother and my father and my sister that I love them. And I kind of started them expressing themselves that way. And so, in terms of these books, I see Slug and Snail as role models for kids. And all the people, all the animals that they go around the world and meet are role models for kids. And reading aloud to your kids is an intimate experience. It's crucial. And so these are the role models. If you read aloud to your kids, you're really doing something wonderful for them. You're really nurturing their souls, basically. So all of this, I really feel, came from the subconscious for both of us. And
I think you're right.
yeah, and I think the words that I wrote resonated with Mary. And once they resonated with her, she just did such beautiful artwork and so playful. And I think the 3 books are joyful. And I'm thinking we should probably roll that video.
Yeah, you
What
have
do
a
you
great
think?
video. Yeah, let's do it. Let's roll that video. And as Andrea gets that ready, I just want to say, like, I've been showing some of the artwork. I just absolutely love that both of you were able to take experiences that I imagine
We're awful.
were traumatic and hurtful, right? Into a creation of an invitation to others to know that if you feel these same things, that you are not alone. And not only is it demonstrated in the act of writing and illustrating a book, because you're sharing your gifts and your stories, but the fact that you brought the slug and the snail together, like they're not in this world. You're never in this world alone. And more often than not, you're next to somebody that might be the complete opposite, and how that is actually a gift to be next to somebody that is so different than you, and that you can still find home, that you can still find love, and that you can still strive for peace. But I'll turn it over to Andrea. Go ahead and play that video for us. So thank you.
Is this the promo video?
Yes.
I haven't seen this in years, actually.
This was newly written. What are you talking about? Brand new. Just kidding.
Yeah, right off the hot off the. I had perky music, if I remember.
Welcome to the world of Slug and Snail, the most unlikely of storybook characters who meet for the very first time, instantly bond, and become the slowest fast friends for life.
Hello, my new friend. How do you do? My name is Snail. And who are you? My name is Slug. How do you do? I seem to look a bit like you. Whoa! What's that thing? It looks like a lump. I'm slimy and slim and don't have a bump. It's called a shell. It's my home, you see. I bring it everywhere. It's a part of me. I wish I had a tiny dome to keep me safe and to call my home.
These intrepid explorers, oh so very slowly and steadily, journey across land and travel on a tiny barge through rivers and seas to find a home that Slug can call his own. Along the way, the friends encounter many animals with unique homes, like Finch in her nest, Spider in her web, Prairie Dog in his underground digs, and Tortoise with his much too big for slug shell. By journey's end, Slug discovers the meaning of home.
So, Slug.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I'm
it did
crying.
have that cheerful music, right?
And I'm
Yeah.
crying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So, Slug realized that home didn't necessarily have to be a shell, a nest, or a bed. He realized that home could be in his heart and his head. So he was filled up. So yeah, it's very sweet.
Meredith and Becky, both of these, all 3 of these topics, right? Love, home, peace. I mean, they're so easy, right? Having a home is so easy. Being loved and loving somebody the way that they want to be loved is so easy. And let's forget about peace, right? So these are not only are they wide ranges of definitions, understandings, and experiences of each of these things, but the concepts sometimes can be too elementary or too above our heads at the very same time. And so I think a little bit about with these big concepts, how is it, or what is your process behind them to make them achievable, beautiful, interesting and understandable for kids, and not only kids, for the parents that might have to read these books every single night because it's their kid's favorite book, right?
Right.
How is it that you can actually grasp such great concepts and make them palatable for young folks and their guardians and loved ones?
So their home, love, and peace are big topics, and we've kind of broken them up in bite-sized pieces. But what's really interesting is that the messages, the little mini messages in all three books are basically the same. For example, in all three books, we talk about taking care of one another. We talk about treating each other with respect. We talk about listening to each other. We talk about loving each other. And I want to show you just one of the things, one book. Here in the love book, can you see the penguins?
Oh yeah, the penguins.
This penguin chick has two dads, not one. They're kind and loving and so much fun. Her daddy's care, their love is quite real. They keep her safe from a whale or a seal. It would be nice to care for a slug, a baby spider, or even a bug. So Slug and Snail learn from every one of those. This is probably the one that would ban our books, basically. But
Ban the book.
ban the book. Not only that, but and so all of these themes are we've broken them down to make simple concepts. Doing a good deed for someone. This is one of my favorites. This is in the Peace book of, let's see, well, I have to show you a couple. This one, I just love this one, Mary. If you can see this. A colony of
that one. That's one of my favorites.
A colony of ants have many mouths to feed. It works as one to meet everyone's needs. To live in peace, we must get along. By working together, we make our world strong. Just like the ants, we work as one. It takes less time and it's so much more fun.
Yeah, I like that illustration.
And then one last one that I have to show you. This one just slays me. This is little turtles helping a giant turtle.
I love that one.
Who's gotten on his back. One way to show peace is to do a good deed, helping each other when someone's in need. So basically, the concepts are very simple. The language is simple. I chose to write it in rhyme because it was fun, I think. And the end parts of the end of the Book of Peace says, when we do our part to be peaceful each day, we help change the world in a positive way. This is probably my favorite illustration. Slug and Snail going around the world. You know, so I think the other thing about the books, at the very end of each of the books, we have 4 pages of activities. And Mary has done something really cool as well, if I can get to it. She shows children how to draw a slug and a snail, basically, so they can tell their own stories about home, peace, and love. And on the other 3 pages, there are a myriad of activities that caregivers and loved ones can share with children so that they can engage together. So we take these big concepts, but we talk about the things that we want adults to do. We want adults to take turns and collaborate. We want our Congress to work together to help us pass the laws that we need. We do want to cheer up a friend when he's sad. We want to listen to each other and share. So they're repeated throughout the books, but they're packaged in different ways, basically. So, and the art, it's a 50-50 proposition. The words are one thing, the art is one, but you can't have one without the other. And I think Meredith did an amazing job bringing to life. I would slug in little art specs for her and say blah, blah, blah. And then she would take that and come up with something absolutely amazing. So basically it's home, love, and peace really work hand in hand. And if we could all follow what we have in the books, we'd be in great shape.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I want to say that as much as these concepts are important, the reading into, and thank you for that. Thank you for sharing all of that. As much as we like to talk about these concepts and how important they are for nurturing our soul, equipping our communities with the things from the simple to the complicated, this is also reading into the new year, which means there is a creative process in the writing and thus the illustration and all of that. So I'm really creative. Really curious about your creative process. How is it that you can advise others who might want to write a children's book and or illustrate a children's book? What is some advice that you can give them, and maybe some steps as well?
Well, I would say know somebody for 60 or 70 years. That's very helpful.
And right? Yeah.
Yes. Well, first I want to say, can you see why I love this woman so much? I mean,
Yes.
you've always been, and you still are, you are such a wonderful teacher, and the kids who had you as a teacher when they were kids, those kids were blessed. And there are not many kids who have teachers like you anymore, that's for sure. Working collaboratively, I mean, first of all, not anyone, but if you want to write an illustrated book, a children's book, you can do that on your own. You do not have to collaborate with someone. However, collaborating with someone provides a richness to the material that you wouldn't otherwise have, especially when the skill set, well, in our case, the skill sets overlap a lot, which made it very helpful. I mean, Becky has to be one of the best art directors I've ever worked with. Her art direction on what she wanted and what she was suggesting for the illustration was amazing. And I've worked with other art directors. I've been an art director, and just looking at her art direction really improved mine. Becky is especially skilled in a particular genre, which is children's writing and writing in rhyme. It is extremely difficult. And as a lyricist, her children's songs, I still have some of them in my, try it on for size, it's still always in my head. She's really quite extraordinary. And the gift and the skill there is you don't have to be a genius to rhyme something. I mean, you can get a rhyming dictionary. Those things exist. The skill and the genius comes from creating rhymes that aren't so obvious, so sappy, so that would actually force the reader to go into sing-song reading. You know what I mean? So Becky's rhymes and children's book writers who write in rhyme, who are able to use the rhyme because it's so rhythmic, and sometimes it's syncopated rhythm, but it's so rhythmic, and that helps children take the information in. It helps the adult from wanting to kill themselves from boredom, as you said, as they read it 25,000 times. And that is really a skill. So if you want a book in rhyme, then either work with someone who can teach you that, coach you that, help you cultivate that, because that's really a thing. And if you don't want to write in rhyme, the same is true without the rhyming. You have to be able to create something that has rhythm and moves and is interesting and has words that are not so sophisticated that a kid, depends on the age level of the reader, but not words that are so sophisticated that a child wouldn't understand them, but not so simplistic that the adult would be bored and has no opportunity to teach. Right. I mean, the child has an opportunity to say, I don't know what that was, I mean, where the adult says, this is what this means. You don't know this word yet, and that is, you're writing for children, and I am not a children's writer. All my books are for adults. So, collaborating with Becky was great. I mean, I didn't even have that blank. I mean, that blank is so huge, I didn't even want to fill it in, but working with Becky fills it in. It's a particular way of understanding the world and being able to communicate the world. So for anybody who wants to write a children's book, I would say, think about what your goal is. What do you want to do? And what do you want to get out of it? And by the way, I'll tell you right now, you're not going to make any money, so you can forget about that. But what do you want to get out of it? I mean, that's where I would start in terms of the writing. If you want to add something to that, go ahead, and then I can talk about the illustration. The whole
I
other
think a couple of things. And we'll get to it when we talk a little bit about collaboration. But she was talking about my writing, but she is a gifted writer. And although she doesn't write in rhyme or do that, she gave such wonderful feedback.
I'm an editor. I'm an editor.
And she's a fantastic editor, but she's got great ideas. My first thing I think I would say is feel the joy. Feel the joy when you write, feel the joy when you illustrate, and you're not going to go wrong. That's it for me. And we obviously both felt the joy and the inspiration to want to write these 3 books.
Yeah, and if you're not having fun, do not do it. I mean, we've both done ghost work, we've both done contract work, and I decided, just why I buy clothes in thrift stores. I decided early on that if I wasn't having fun and if I didn't love it, I wasn't going to do it. I don't care how much money was going to come my way. And I know writers who do not work that way, who say, I get kids to feed, I got a mortgage to pay, and that is a perfectly valid reason to do it. But, here's my blessing for you, may you have the kind of life and the kind of freedom to do what brings you delight, what fills you with delight, so that you're not panicked about the things of this world,
Exactly.
Yeah, amen to that. Hey, y'all, we have a real life, true author and illustrator here. I know that some of you in attendance that are on live now might be creative and might have questions for our authors. And I hope that you're able to put your questions in there. For those of you who might be joining us at another time, if you're viewing this later, you are more than welcome to email me with your questions for the author and illustrator, and I will go ahead and connect you. Look, all cats and dogs and iguanas and slugs and snails are welcome in our webinar. Meredith, let them.
Never does this. She never does this unless I'm talking about the funniest thing ever. Get it down. Okay.
I love it. For all of that, you are more than welcome. If you're watching later, send me an email if you have questions for them. I would be happy to put you in touch with the authors too. And so,
absolutely. I would like to talk. Are there questions in the chat? I haven't looked in.
Not yet. Not yet. We'll get there. Hopefully, y'all will.
I would like to talk about the art process, though. Talk about the art process a little bit.
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Please do.
Yeah, I actually, the first book we did, the home book, I did analog, which means I used things like this. And I used things like this, which is a watercolor pen. And I used some collage materials. And I did it on huge pieces of paper because I had the design specs from the publisher and the designer. And after we did the first book, a friend of mine who is he's ordained, UMC ordained, and the good version of Methodist Church ordained. And he's also an artist and a children's book writer. And he said, "You did this analog? Are you crazy?" And I said, you need to learn digital. And he was absolutely right. So the thing is, I would say if you're an artist and you're an analog artist, good for you, keep doing that. If you don't know how to work with any of the digital tools, I use Procreate. I highly recommend learning that. It's a very steep learning curve. I, for one, had a lot of trouble understanding how to use layers, because I hadn't used Photoshop or any of those other Adobe products. I took some online courses, which really helped, and just playing with it helped. And the reason for that is at some point, the art director, who is different from the illustrator, comes in and says, this is lovely, but the sky is the wrong color blue. Can you change the blue? When you're working analog, you look at a sheet of paper that has, this is an analog hand-drawn thing. You look at the sheet of paper and says, oh my God, doesn't like the green. You have to do it all over again.
Yeah.
You cannot cover, you have to do it all over again.
Right.
With digital, you go into the layer that the sky is on, you click sky, you go in, you change the color, you fix it, and send it off. It saves a lot of time, and I am actually taking medication to have my hair grow back in, but I was really kind of like getting crazy there for a while. So I would say if you want to do any kind of illustration, children's book illustration, you're going to have to learn digital. And I do highly recommend Procreate. I think it's the easiest and most intuitively obvious of the ones. So that's that. In terms of the illustration itself, I was fortunate to have an art director, Becky. If you don't have an art director, and if the publisher's not going to be a good art director, Rachel Hackenberg actually happens to be a really good art director because she also is in the arts. I don't know if you know that. She's a musician and an artist. So I worked on another book for Pilgrim Press, and she gave me the art direction for that. It was the Word of Bugs and Dragonflies book about teaching death to children. So I did the illustrations for the 50th anniversary edition of that. And so she provided the art direction for that. But if you're not getting art direction, then you have to source it from yourself. And so that means a combination of your own imagination, your own deep desire of what you want to draw or paint, and also flipping through a lot of resources. There's no sin in looking at what other people have done and saying like, oh, that's what an owl is supposed to look like. Well, you know what? I reject that, and I'm doing an owl this way. So there's research involved. There's a lot of doodling involved. There's a lot of, for me, chocolate involved. It's a process. And for those of you who are with us today and as artists, you already know this. So what you're doing is you're taking your creative process for whatever media or medium or media is your favorite, and then translating it into something else. My other work, when I'm not illustrating, it's mixed media. It's very heavy duty collage. It's assemblage. I use a lot of rusted junk and stuff like that. That does not work well for illustration, although I've seen people do it. I've seen people do collage illustration. I've seen people do found object illustration. It's very difficult to do, in part because of the other thing you have to remember as an artist or as an illustrator is the whole print production aspect. So if you're not laying it down in digital and just move the file and they just do with the file, if you have to photograph something, what looks fabulous in person can turn out looking horrendous once it's photographed, even if you have a professional photograph it, because you can't control shadows and what shows up in dimensions and all that. So again, I would say if you're called to do some illustration, start with sketching, start with drawing things, start with whatever's the easiest, flowers, animals, whatever lights you up and cracks you up. Just start there and then move on. So that's my coaching for that.
I love that. That is such a way to even just model anything in life, really, right? I mean, even if we're not even just talking about developing the words for something, developing the pictures for something, it is, I hear you say, Meredith, it's a lot of like, let yourself experience the creative process, the critique or criticism process. However, I'm in this, like, what is the difference between critique and criticism, right? And then the adaptation, like, how do you adapt to the changes, right? I think there's a lot of that we can learn just lesson wise in life, right?
Yeah. I do want to add, just want to add
Yeah.
this. This is I got from my most recent teacher, who's been a wonderful teacher for me, and the coaches in the Art to Life group. Is they have this thing called, I never had language for it, called the messy middle, and I want to share that with other artists, and that includes writers as well. And so you'll just be coasting along with a project, and you're like so in love with it, you're so in love with yourself, and you're so happy, and all of a sudden it is a mess. You're in the middle of it, you go, I hate this, I hate it, and it's a mess. I should just like delete everything, throw everything out. And that is part of the process. That is the process. That is the creative process. And once you get to the messy middle, you just say, whoa, I'm in the messy middle.
Love
Time
messy
to take
middle.
a walk, But that's absolutely, it's normal, it's normative.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. I just wrote it down. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just kind of our final question for today, before we log off here, is speaking of the messy middle, I imagine collaboration is a lot of being in the messy middle. Whether or not you know somebody from the age of 5, or whether you just met somebody, that you have that connection, right? It is, I think, if anything, our world is demonstrating how hard it is to produce a finished product where the collaboration is one that ebbs and flows with the changes and everything that it is that you just named. So I'm curious, like, what are some suggestions that you, or recommendations or tips, or however that you want to frame it, that you can offer us based on your own experiences of working together, that can come to this idea, this implementation, from idea to implementation to collaborative. Yeah. How does it work?
Well, I think for me, the number one thing is, if you're going to collaborate with someone, you need to trust that person. And that's the biggest thing. And because you are going to be giving constructive criticism, if you want to use that term, we both do, but we do it in a kind and loving way. So I think the trust is key. The trust is key. You need to be a good listener, and you need to problem solve together. There's going to be something in the art that Mary gets stuck on, or something in the words that it's just not coming for me. And we have to be patient with each other. We have to support one another. It's like it's a relationship, We have to be flexible. Something may not be working, and we are going to have to throw something out, and we're going to have to figure something else out. And we have to encourage each other. And then I think for me, I was the one that kind of moved the project along, because my words came out, they came out quickly. And, we made some revisions, and Rachel was the editor at the Pilgrim Press for me. I love her. I love the insight that she brought to all 3 books. I was so thrilled to work with her and work with Mary. But I think I have a knack for keeping things on track. But the whole bulk of it was Mary having to work month after month to create the illustrations. And that's a heavy load. It took a lot of hard work and effort to do that. So it was my job also, and it didn't feel like a job, and it didn't feel like a labor of love. It just felt joyful. But I was there to support her when she was doing the creation and the hard work of producing the illustrations.
Yeah, that's true. I think also the trust, but also mutual respect, in the sense that I have so much respect for you as a writer, setting, what Ellie said, setting the 5-year-old, when I say 5, it just corrects me, but setting aside that we met at 5, okay, setting aside the longevity and going through everything we've ever gone through together and separately together. Even if I hadn't met you in kindergarten, I have so much respect for your work, for your creativity, for your work product, for your project management skills. I also have done project management. I was not the project manager on this, for sure, not the project manager. Becky was. And so to work with someone and to have so much respect for her skill sets, because she has many. And then to trust that she has, it's not even that she trusted in me or my work. That is true. And the same goes likewise double, is that we trusted in what we were doing together.
Right.
When I look at what we have created and went, it's like, we made this. We made this. I've had other collaboration processes. Actually, when I was in academic sociology, I had one amazing collaboration process with another woman. And I said to her, I don't have children. I don't plan on having children, but I imagine this is what it feels like. Because we gave birth to this major piece of work. Again, it was academia, it was boring, sort of, but it's the same thing. It's like, this is creative process, and it's a level of emotional, and for me, because I put things in spiritual terms, spiritual intimacy, because creativity is involved. We have been created by a creator to be creative. So creativity is at its heart spiritual, whether or not you consider yourself a spiritual person, whether you have any kind of religious anything. So that is, this is not, Jews don't use this language, but it's salvific. It really is.
Yeah. What a gift it has been to be in conversation with you all. Becky, leading up to this webinar series, I'm grateful to the Pilgrim Press for answering my request to continue to do this work. For you being open to me naming the webinar today. This is beyond a children's book series, right? This is for us adults at this moment, more now than perhaps ever before. And that you all said yes to this. I know you wrote this a couple years ago, but the fact that we still get to revisit it is such a gift. So thank you both for being with us today. Thank you for all of you who have joined us live. For those who are watching later, or if you've watched it live, you're going to get a link within the next 72 hours with some resources, where to buy the book, anything else, that we choose to put in there, along with this link to watch this. Share this video with somebody that you think might need to hear that they can be home with you, that they can feel love and peace with you, and all of those things. And we're not done, right? Our reading into the new year next edition is next Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We hope that you join us. We are going to be meeting and in conversation with the author of Drag Queen Preacher. We're going to be exploring his Afro-Latina culture, queerness, faith, doubt, and radical emergence as a drag performer. This minister is going to take us, Ricardo is going to take us on a journey. We're going to explore the elegance of their poetry, of their prose, and be invited into a beautiful reckoning of how we might be able to find our own story, how we might find the courage to refuse to be invisible, and how we dare to become more human. And so we hope you join us next Thursday at the same time. And I'm going to take us out in a benediction. Although I always like my guests to do it. I've been told we've been benedict out. I don't know if that's the proper term, but you know what I mean. So, beloveds, I'm grateful again for each of you. Welcome to 2026. Let us go forth, beloveds, knowing that the bigness of life is not a path that we travel alone. It is a path where we get to travel together. We have each other, and we have each other in our support and our dreaming spaces of creativity. We can dream, we can create home, love, and peace together. Tu eres mi otro yo, you are the other me. Go forth and know that you are loved. May it be so. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you both.
Siblings in Christ, if you are moved by this conversation, if what's been offered here has helped enhance your ministry or has nurtured your soul for the journey, please consider donating to the annual fund of the United Church of Christ by texting UCC to 41444. Your support will help to provide programs like this, which are an essential part of our ministries in the United Church of Christ. Thank you for your support. Be blessed on your journey and know that you are not alone. We are holding you in prayer. Amen.